much for the two presentations and for your insights. We are almost back on time, which leaves the opportunity for a few questions, if there are. Otherwise, we'll... Yes, David?
Yeah, I'm David Hammerstein from the Commons Network. By the way, we've published a policy document that talks about policy opportunities. It includes a discussion of these infrastructures and many other issues to do with the Commons. I'm stimulated by what Alexander said in this question is, are we just creating some technical opportunities that are open and free, and we're going to wait for this to trickle down to society? So my general theoretical question is quite concrete, is the relationship between these commons infrastructures and the common good. The common good meaning whether it be privacy, environment, climate, energy, privacy, commodification, all of these kind of things. For example, Leandro, you're in Catalonia. If WiFi-Net had been in charge of the internet infrastructure, would the central government have been so easily intervened and shut down the internet when they were trying to have the referendum on the 1st of October, for example? And then the similar concrete questions you could be made about the information being used for renewable energy projects or serving rural communities and agriculture. So I'd like to know from you or from others, what's the relationship with, I mean, are there more direct links? I hate to think of just the netCommons as just being this technological shift to decentralization, which is positive in itself.
I would like to, I mean, I somehow missed out some points in my presentation due to the fact we didn't have internet, but there's something I'd like to add about social inclusion, that the way we think of a bottom-up approach is driven by need, and need of the people that are actually in a social environment, in a location. And depending on that need, the question I think is, do we empower them to be able to fix something that cannot or isn't fixed from other entities in society? And I think it's a very important question. And but once you hit that need and you feel it, and that's something I think everybody who has a background in community wireless knows about the need. Then you will find very intrinsic motivation of the people themselves to change something in their environment. And the question is, do we make it, how easy do we make it for them to do this? And this has many implications, but two of the main implications are both, yes, technically, because it's about technology, so you have to educate them, and on the other hand, you have to make it the technology as easy applicable as possible. And the other thing is regulatory, because as I showed you by the statistics, if there's regulatory uncertainty and people are not sure or afraid of whether or not this is legal or not, then they are frightened and will not just choose the easy way to go for it. But once there's an environment where you feel safe about the solution that is at hand, then you see a dramatic growth. And we have worked with many schools. We have, when the refugees came to Germany, there was over 100 refugee camps all over Germany where Freifunk activists were connecting them to the internet because it was one of the most important resources to them to be able to communicate with their relatives, family, friends, whatsoever. And the problem was that the people who were hosting the camps were in legal uncertainty when they would provide internet with their organizations, they were afraid of secondary liability issues, and they didn't know what those refugees might do. So it was a fully volunteer-based campaign where activists were connecting them to the internet. Often enough, there wasn't even internet access provided by the Telecom, so we needed a wireless long shot or something to make it possible. And the other thing is that we have heard for more than a decade that with the next generation of communication technologies provided by the big telecoms, the areas of market failure would be served. So as you may remember, with 3G, 4G, 5G, whatsoever, every time the campaign for it is the same, that with the next generation of technology, the telecoms would offer access to everyone, everywhere. And maybe we can learn from history that this just doesn't happen. And it will not happen, and I'm really surprised how everybody can repeat this again and again. So then we have to ask ourselves, what's the alternative? And this also means that we have to make it easy for people to help themselves and to provide the last mile or first mile, however you want to call it, and to understand that what they are building, the infrastructure they are actually building, is a commons in that sense, which serves the community, because it's not only about my own access point that I'm putting somewhere, but I'm also becoming part of a shared infrastructure and shared responsibilities to keep it up and running, to maintain it, to think about how we can share the costs if there are any. And so I think it's a very, very important thing that needs more education and more rollout in the public, and that's something I would aim for.
Thank you very much. Let's move to the second.
Yes, just
Panel?
one really quick thing. In Linux or in most of the other networks, we don't say that a community network it's a network connecting a community. We say that it's a community that builds its own network. That's the reason for making a community network. It's not just that you need connectivity. First you need a community, and then you do this as you would do some other things for the community.